Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. When it comes to relationships, women have more power than they think. But the problem is, too many times, you give that power away too easily. You call too much, you text too much, you make yourself always available, and then you wonder why he doesn't value your time. A man is built to chase, to pursue, to prove himself worthy of the woman he wants. But if you never give him the space to realize what he could lose, he'll never step up. When we talk about relationships and the dynamic between men and women, one of the most powerful truths that often gets overlooked is that a man values what he has to chase. It's built into his nature. It's in the way he thinks, and it's the way he's wired. If something comes too easily, he doesn't attach the same level of value to it as he does to something he had to put in effort for. Think about it like this. If a man can walk into a store and someone just hands him a diamond without asking for anything in return, he might take it, but he won't treat it the same way as if he had to work months, maybe years, to save up for it. That diamond he invested in, that diamond he sacrificed for, that diamond he worked hard to earn, he's going to protect it, treasure it, and guard it like it's priceless. The same is true with relationships. When a woman gives all of herself too quickly, when she makes herself available at every call and text, when she doesn't require him to step up and put in any real effort, he doesn't get that same sense of value from her presence. What makes a man chase is not just physical attraction. It's the combination of respect, curiosity, and effort. Respect comes when he sees that you respect yourself enough to not accept less than you deserve. Curiosity grows when you don't reveal every detail of your life immediately, but instead allow him the space to wonder, to ask, and to earn the right to know more about you. Effort builds when he realizes he actually has to show up, plan, and put in time if he wants to win you over. But when a woman hands all of that over for free, when she doesn't require effort, she is unknowingly robbing the man of the very thing that makes him want to commit in the first place. Men are hunters by nature, and I don't mean that in the literal sense of the word, but in the sense of drive. The pursuit makes the reward sweeter. It's not about playing games or pretending to be something you're not. It's about understanding human psychology. If he never has to chase you, if he never has to wonder about you, if he never has to work for your attention, then he doesn't connect the same level of value to your presence. That's why so many women say, "Why doesn't he appreciate me? I gave him everything and it still wasn't enough." The answer lies in this principle: you gave it all before he earned it. So in his mind, it didn't require any sacrifice or effort. Now, when you pull back, when you stop giving him that constant access, it changes the energy. He notices the gap, he notices the space, and that space is where his chase begins. Suddenly, he's thinking, where is she? Why hasn't she called? Why doesn't she respond the same way she used to? And those questions fuel pursuit. The man who is truly interested will step up his game. He'll try harder. He'll want to win you over, because now there's something at stake. He has to prove himself worthy of your time and attention. And when he does, he values it in a deeper way. The truth is, women often underestimate the power of being selective. Being selective doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It means knowing your worth so strongly that you won't settle for half-hearted effort. A man may test boundaries at first to see how much he can get without giving. But when he realizes that you won't accept inconsistency, that you won't be the one chasing him, that you won't keep lowering your standards just to keep him around, that's when he either rises to the occasion or he walks away. And here's the part you need to understand. If he walks away because you required too much respect, he was never your man to begin with. The right man will be drawn to your value because it gives him purpose. When he chases, when he invests, when he proves himself, he doesn't just fall for you. He binds his emotions to you. Every call he makes, every date he plans, every effort he invests becomes part of his story with you. And that's what makes him value the relationship even more. It's not manipulation. It's not mind games. It's simply allowing the natural rhythm of pursuit to unfold. He wants to feel like he earned your love, not like it was handed to him without him lifting a finger. So when you remember this truth, that a man values what he has to chase, you position yourself in a way where he sees you not as someone temporary, but as someone irreplaceable. He'll look at you and think, I had to put in real work to get her, and I'm not about to lose her. That's when commitment becomes real. That's when respect deepens. And that's when he doesn't just want to date you. He starts to imagine building a future with you. Silence creates desire and distance makes him realize what he could lose. And this truth has played out in countless relationships without people even realizing the psychology behind it. When you stop giving him constant access to your time, your attention, and your energy, you allow him to sit in the absence of you. And that absence speaks louder than any words you could ever say. Think about how people take things for granted when they are always there. When something is in front of you every day, you don't think about the value of it. You don't pause to appreciate it because it feels guaranteed. The same happens in relationships. When you're always the one texting first, always answering instantly, always available at his convenience, he starts to unconsciously expect you to be there no matter what. But the moment you create silence, the moment you step back and give space, you interrupt that pattern. Suddenly, he doesn't have you on call. He doesn't have that guaranteed presence. And now his mind begins to miss what he once overlooked. Desire is born in the gap between what we have and what we want. When he feels your absence, when he doesn't hear from you as often, when you're not so quick to respond, that gap is created. Instead of you chasing him, he is left chasing the feeling of having you around. Silence makes him think, what is she doing? Who is she with? Why hasn't she called me back? And these questions stir up emotions that words could never force. This is not about ignoring him to punish him. It's about letting him recognize that your attention is valuable, your presence is not guaranteed, and your love is not something to be taken lightly. There is power and restraint in not always giving everything away. It shows self-control, it shows dignity, and it communicates that you have a life that is full beyond just him. Men respect women who live full lives, who have their own priorities, and who don't drop everything at the first sound of his call. When you hold back just enough to create that silence, you are showing him that your world doesn't revolve solely around him, and that reality both intrigues him and challenges him to step up. He begins to realize that if he wants to keep your attention, if he wants to secure his place in your life, he has to invest more, give more, and prove that he values what you bring. Distance has a way of sharpening feelings. When he doesn't see you or hear from you as often, the little moments you shared suddenly take on new meaning. That smile, that laugh, that simple conversation, those things replay in his head and become magnified by the silence. The mind fills in the gaps, and that's when he starts to truly understand what he misses. The contrast between presence and absence is what teaches appreciation. Without distance, without silence, he doesn't get the chance to feel the weight of losing you, even temporarily. And it's in that feeling, that slight discomfort, that longing where his true emotions start to rise. Many women fear silence because they think it means he'll forget them or lose interest. But the opposite is true with the right man. The wrong man might drift away, but that only reveals he was never deeply invested to begin with. The right man feels the silence like an alarm bell ringing in his chest. He feels the distance and it unsettles him because he knows what he stands to lose. He begins to pursue harder, to reach out more, to show more intention because the silence gave him the space to recognize your worth. It's important to understand that silence is not weakness, nor is it passive. Silence is active communication. It tells him that you are not desperate, that you will not beg for attention, and that your love is not free for anyone to misuse. It tells him that you are willing to step back rather than tolerate half-hearted effort. And this silent message has more impact than 1,000 words spoken in frustration. While constant reminders and repeated complaints can push a man away, silence pulls him closer because it forces him to confront his own feelings and actions. Distance works in the same way. When you choose not to be overly available, when you focus on yourself, your goals, your happiness, he starts to see that your life is rich and meaningful, and he wants to be part of it. That's when he begins to feel urgency, the realization that another man could step into the space he took for granted. That urgency makes him act, and that action is what separates a man who is just passing time from a man who is serious about commitment. So when you allow silence to speak and distance to create space, you are not pushing him away. You are giving him the chance to pull himself toward you willingly. And when he does, it won't be out of convenience. It will be out of genuine desire, appreciation, and the fear of losing something he now understands is rare and valuable. Disappearing isn't punishment. It's a way of teaching him your worth. Too many women misunderstand the idea of stepping back in a relationship. They think if they create space, if they stop calling and texting all the time, if they let him sit in silence, it means they're being mean, manipulative, or playing games. But in reality, it's none of that. It's about setting a boundary. It's about carrying yourself with dignity. And it's about showing him that your presence is a privilege, not a given. When you disappear, you are not hurting him. You are teaching him. You are reminding him that love is something to be nurtured, not something to be taken for granted, and that your time and energy deserve respect. When a man is truly into you, he doesn't need to be scolded or begged to treat you right. What wakes him up is the realization that he could lose you. And that realization rarely comes from arguments or lectures. It comes from absence. It comes from the silence when you no longer answer every call immediately, when you no longer make yourself available for every plan, when you are not hanging on his every word. That absence forces him to reflect. It makes him question himself and his effort. He starts to think about the way he's been showing up. And in those quiet moments, he begins to recognize your worth. Teaching someone your value is not about shouting it from the rooftops. It's about living in a way that communicates it without words. When you disappear with grace, when you stop trying to convince him, when you stop pouring energy into proving yourself, you automatically shift the balance. He feels the difference, and that difference is the lesson. You're not punishing him. You're showing him that if he doesn't step up, someone else will. If he doesn't cherish you, someone else will. If he doesn't take the chance to love you right, he could lose you completely. That silent lesson carries more weight than any speech could. Men respect what they earn. That's why disappearing has such an impact. If you are always there no matter what, he never has to consider the value of your love. But when you step back, you create a gap that forces him to think about how much you truly matter. That's not punishment. That's perspective. You're not closing the door forever. You're just making it clear that the door won't stay open if he doesn't walk through it properly. That clarity is powerful because it sets the standard without bitterness. A woman's worth is not determined by how much she gives to prove she loves someone. It's determined by how much she knows her love deserves in return. Disappearing teaches that. It says, I am not going to beg for your attention. I am not going to lower myself to chase you. I am not going to fight for a place in your life if you don't already see what I bring. It's not about withholding affection to cause pain. It's about withholding access until he proves that he values it. That difference is crucial. Punishment seeks to hurt, but teaching seeks to elevate. And when you disappear, you are elevating the standard of how you should be treated. The men who are not serious will fall away when you disappear, and that's a blessing. It reveals who was only there for convenience and who was never willing to invest. But the man who truly wants you, who feels your worth deeply, will not let that silence last long. He will feel the discomfort of losing you, and that discomfort will drive him to change. He'll start to put in effort, not because you forced him, but because he realized on his own what he stands to lose. That kind of change is real and lasting because it comes from within him, not from your pressure. Think of disappearing as drawing a line in the sand. You are saying, without words, this is what I deserve. This is how I expect to be treated. And if you can't meet me here, I will keep walking without you. That message doesn't come from anger. It comes from self-respect. And men respond differently to self-respect than they do to complaints. Respect commands attention, and absence commands reflection. The combination of the two creates a powerful lesson, one that shows him your worth in a way that no amount of talking ever could. When you step back with dignity, you are reminding him that being with you is not a right, it's an honor. You are not punishing him for what he hasn't done. You are teaching him to value what he could have if he chooses to step up. That teaching is what separates the temporary men from the permanent ones, the ones who are there for the moment from the ones who are ready for forever. And when the right man sees that lesson clearly, he won't feel pushed away. He will feel pulled toward you with a new sense of respect and commitment. The right man won't just return. He'll return ready to commit for life. This is one of the most powerful truths women need to understand when it comes to relationships. Not every man you date is meant to stay. Not every man you give your time to is meant to be your forever partner. And not every man is willing to put in the effort that love requires. But when you step back, when you disappear with dignity, when you refuse to beg for his attention or settle for crumbs, You create the space for the truth to be revealed. The man who isn't serious will let that silence stretch and eventually fade away. But the man who truly values you won't just drift back casually. He'll come back with a different energy, a stronger intention, and a clear desire to lock you down for the long term. Commitment is not about words, it's about action. Any man can say he misses you. Any man can send a text or drop a few sweet lines to get your attention. But the man who is right for you will go beyond that. When he feels your absence and realizes your worth, he won't just want to date you again like before. He will want to make sure he never loses you again. That's why the right man returns with plans, with effort, with consistency, and with the mindset of making things permanent. He understands that if he doesn't commit, he risks losing something priceless. That fear of losing you is not about desperation. It's about clarity. He finally sees who you are, what you bring, and how empty life feels without your presence. Women often make the mistake of thinking that if a man comes back, it means he's changed. But the truth is not in the return. It's in the way he returns. Some men come back the same, looking for the same casual access they had before, and those men will repeat the same patterns. But the right man comes back differently. He doesn't come back with excuses. He comes back with solutions. He doesn't come back with empty promises. He comes back with proof. He shows through his effort that he understands your worth and that he is ready to step up in a way he wasn't before. This is why disappearing is such a powerful tool for clarity. It separates the men who were just enjoying your company from the men who actually see you as their future. Because when a man is faced with the silence of your absence, he is forced to evaluate what you mean to him. If he can walk away and never look back, that tells you everything you need to know. But if he comes back, determined not to let you slip away again, determined to offer you more than just words, then you know he is serious. That shift from casual to committed happens in the space of distance, because distance allows him to realize just how much he doesn't want to live without you. The right man sees commitment not as a burden, but as a blessing. When he decides he wants you for life, it's not because you pressured him or begged him. It's because he looked at the situation and understood that you are the woman who adds value to his life, who makes him better, who supports him, who challenges him, and who inspires him. He knows that kind of love doesn't come around often, and once it's gone, it might never come again. That's what makes him step forward with clarity and purpose, ready to build a future with you. When he comes back, his actions will show it. He will call more consistently. He will make more intentional plans. He will talk about the future openly, and he will want to be clear about where you both stand. He won't want to waste time with confusion because he knows confusion is what almost cost him the relationship in the first place. His effort becomes steady because he understands that you deserve stability, not uncertainty. That commitment is what separates him from every man before him, and it's what transforms your connection into something lasting. So many women chase men hoping to get them to stay, but the truth is, the right man doesn't need to be chased. The right man, once he realizes your worth, will chase you. He will fight to earn his place in your life again, not just because he misses you, but because he's ready to secure a future with you. And that's why disappearing works. It gives him the chance to prove himself. If he doesn't step up, you know he was never yours. If he does, he won't just return with sweet words. He'll return with the kind of love that is ready to stand the test of time,